Hi everyone, I am going to do another watercolor tutorial today. Today we're doing, I've done this one before as an Instagram live class, but that doesn't stay on there, so I thought I would redo it so I could post it permanently. So I just use, this is probably the Canson paper, and I just cut it into little pieces. This is a little bigger, and I'll trim it when I'm done, just kind of square it up and everything. But I'll put these on those little note card blanks and do a little set for gift giving or to say thank you. So I'll leave that there as a reference. So in addition to your watercolors and whatever paper you're using, this was the 9 by 12 cut into 9 by 6 and cut again, so those would be 4.5 by, I think, 6. I've just, whatever the watercolor paper, I've just kind of cut it down to size. Usually if I do these, I will do 2 at a time. That way I can work on one while I kind of wait for the other one to dry. But these are super quick and easy. They're very loose, very whimsical. They don't have to be exact. So I've got a couple different ones here. You can see they're all going to be a little different, and that's what kind of makes them nice. So I am using oh, that's not a straw, that's a paintbrush. I've got a straw that is black. There we go. And that's what I'll use for my blowing. Alright, so I've wet all my colors here, and so I'm going to start off with a little bit of bring over some cad yellow and some cad red. And I'll bring a little crimson in too for some of my darker colors. I'm also going to be using some sap green. And then I'll go ahead and mix up. I'll bring some Viridian green here. And because this is very cool green, it's not a good choice for foliage, so I will warm that up using some burnt sienna. And you can see I get a nice darker earthy green. Alright, so to start off with, my mix is going to be a little more thinner, a little more wet and soupy, and I'm just going to tap in just kind of that shape. It's not anything I draw in ahead of time. I would say here in the center, I probably won't want to get that too wet, so when I go to put that center in later, I'm just going to kind of put a little bit of that in. I'll put my little bud piece over here. Just going to let that dry a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tap in some of this lighter sap green. And here I can come and put in the stem. Very nice little leaf there. Some that's a little more detailed, or you can do it all very loose, and that's fine too. So you can see with what I'm doing right now, I'm going to layer onto this so I build up some of my intensity. So now I'll come in with a little bit of the stronger cad red, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of tap it into a little puddle here. So the ones here, I want them to blow that way. So it's kind of a shorter, abrupt, you know, and that's fine. I don't care if it goes wonky. Okay, let's bring in a little darker. I want that to kind of, there we go, splay out a little bit more. Put some of that in. I think I'm going to bring in a little bit darker, like a little burnt sienna into this to even warm that up a little bit more. And I can kind of tap that in a little bit. Just kind of let that dry a little, and I'll come back and add a little bit more. Going back into my greens. Okay, let's warm some of that up. In here to this darker green, maybe. So you can see each time we do a layer, we bring a little more intensity to it. Bring some little darker down into here. So a lot of times I kind of go by, you know, my mood, my feeling. I'm not always trying to make an identical of something. I want the piece that I'm doing to have a little bit of kind of that artistic intuitiveness to it. So I try not to be too fussy. Okay, so I've got this in here. I've got some depth in my foliage. So I'm going to come back in now and go ahead and bring in a little more inky color, a little deeper. And again, I'm going to come in. So the areas that I want to kind of deepen up is going to be here, you know, on the other side of where that center is going to be. Here. There we go. You've got to get a little bit of a puddle going on to be able to have enough to blow. And it's all going to come depending on the direction. So I want these to come this way, this to come this way, and those to go off that way. So you can see I've kind of created that bowl for my flower, and then here's where my center is going to go. So I'm happy with how that looks. So with everything being wet right now, since I'm not working on a separate one to give me that time to dry, what I'm going to do here is I'll just have to be careful. I'll come in and just pick this up out of the pan so it's not as wet. And I just want to keep it a little more on the textured side. Okay. So if I get that up into the orange, it's going to bleed out into a little bit. I don't mind if it does that a little bit. As you can see, these are super quick, super easy. Great for daily practice if you're trying to find something to do. Half the time the hard thing is, what do I paint? You know, and then as that dries here, if I want to bring just a little more intensity, kind of deepen that in just a little bit, tap a little in there, and there you go, a super easy poppy using some whimsical blowing to accent it. And now I have a set of 4 that I can use for gift giving. So please subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my content, and we'll see you soon.